If I pay for sales training or get sales training, how long should it take for me to see results and why? Doesn't matter. I'm Scott Bell. I'm coming to you live for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you. Now here's the thing, whether I work with technicians, salespeople, managers, or business owners, and even private equity, there's times where people come to me and say, hey Scott, we want to do training, but we want to know how long it's going to take for us to see some sort of end result that the payment that we made, the investment that we made, is actually doing something for us, okay? And so there is a myth out there that you could do one and be done, meaning like you only need training once and be done with it. And I'm gonna say, hey, where else in your life do you only need to do something once and then it doesn't take work or effort on your part to get better at what you do, okay? So I see this where people will say, well, I only need training once. And so, yeah, you'll see the numbers take off like a hockey stick to the right, and it's going to be like, and it's going to go up, but then there's going to be like something goes wrong, and then the numbers just pretty much instantly drop. And that's because if you want consistent growth, it's going to take consistent training. And I'm going to give you a series of numbers based upon 10 years of my notes and my knowledge to share with you, hey, here's what it's going to take. And there's a lot of implications and a lot of reasons why you need to know this, okay? So let's say that you are a technician and you're saying, I'm brand new to the field and I want to get good at selling maintenance, club memberships, partnership plans, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to peg that number at between 100 and 150 attempts, 100 to 150 at bat. So if you're running 4 calls a day, it's going to take you between 6 weeks and 8 weeks, a month and a half, 2 months, to get consistent with what you're doing. Can you do it before that? Absolutely. But if you're looking for consistency, it's going to take 100 to 150 repetitions. That's because it's your voice. That's because it's your words. That's because of the way that you say it. But it's also because you're dealing with different personalities. You have the people who are amicable and they're just like, yeah, I'll listen to you, no problem. I'm going to buy. That's like everybody's dream buyer. The one that you walk into and they're like, I'll take everything, just like sign right here, fantastic. That's everybody's dream buyer, but that's not the real world. So over here, you've got the dream client, and then over here, you've got the difficult one. So there's the swing of all the people that you need to meet with and all the conversations that you need to have. And this is a good reason why you should join HVAC Tech Secrets.com, subscribe, and I'll send you content that's not in the Facebook group and not in the YouTube channel. So let's say that you're, hey Scott, I'm really good at selling maintenance plans, club membership, partnership plans, whatever you want to call them. I want to get to the next level. I want to sell add-on services, maybe like indoor air quality, hard start kits, ultraviolet light bulbs. How long should that take? I'm going to give you pretty much the same number. It's going to take roughly 100 attempts. It's going to take 100 attempts for you to be proficient. So you've got 100 attempts to 150 attempts as a club membership, partnership plan, maintenance agreement, roughly 100 attempts to do indoor air quality, add-on sales. And you're like, hey, Scott, I really want to get good at setting leads. Well, the learning curve becomes easier over time because the longer that you're in the industry and the more times that you have conversations and the more used you get to personalities, like this number starts to narrow down because the conversations are pretty similar. But anytime that you're looking at doing something brand new as a technician or the salesperson, that number needs to be roughly at 100. So about 6 weeks worth of work. So people will say, hey, Scott, it is going to be summertime and I want my team trained up. Well, I'm like, okay, you really need to start that conversation 2 to 2.5 months in advance. But you're like, hey, Scott, I thought you said 6 weeks. I did, but like it takes consistent behavior over time. 6 weeks is typically the minimum. 6 weeks is typically, well, people say, hey, Scott, what if I double and I have my team come in twice a week and we go for 6 weeks? I'm gonna say the numbers are pretty similar, but the yield is higher. So let's say that after 6 weeks, you ran 100 calls and your average order value, your average ticket, or your average sale is $150 a month or $150 a ticket, okay? If you're going to double up on the training, that has the potential of taking it to 180 or 200. And sometimes people will say, well, Scott, why is it that, the yield will be higher, but the closing rate won't necessarily be higher? This is because of getting used to the conversations. And we're talking about a group of people, not an individual. So if you're like, hey, Scott, those aren't my numbers. I'm like at 80. Okay, well, great. That's fantastic. You're better than the average technician. You're better than the average salesperson. Hey, Scott, I only need 50. Fantastic. I'm like, for real, I'm super proud of you. But that is an outlier mode because for whatever reason, you're very good with people. For whatever reason, you're very comfortable with the sales process. It's not the norm. And so like people will say, well, Scott, I'm not going to get good till 100. And like, just remember, that's the average. You could be good at 40. You could be good at 50. You could be good at 60. But if you're like, hey, Scott, I need to know the average for my team, for my salesperson, this is the measuring stick that you put yourself up against, 100 leads. 100 leads. So if you really want to be good at what you do, judge your first 100 calls on a new process, a new product, a new service. Look, you can put a mile marker in at every 10 and say, where am I at on my first 10? Where am I at on my first 20? Where am I at on my first 30? But 100 repetitions is the magic number for you to figure out where you're good at what you do. And if you add more training in there, you typically get a better average order value, a better average ticket, better yield, whatever way you want to say that. Just want to let you know that I appreciate you got one thing to do from here and one thing only, and that is to find the subscribe button. Click on it, and every time I send out a video, you'll get an update that says, HVAC Technician Sales Secrets sent out another fantastic video. You should watch it, which you should. We'll see you soon.